This is the Marketing Umbrella Podcast, where it's all about getting the information you need from successful leading marketers to build and grow your digital marketing agency. Brought to you by Itamar Shafir, founder and CEO of Umbrella, the technology platform and brand that is powering thousands of marketing agencies around the country. Find him at umbrellaus.com. Now, here's your host, Kevin Pruitt.
Yes, we want to welcome you to another great episode of the Marketing Umbrella Podcast. As always, this podcast was created to bring you the best and brightest in the marketing space. Today is certainly no exception. Our guest is the founder and CEO of the world's largest authentic photo library, Scopio. Scopio, which stands for Scope It Out, aims to distribute images across the world and secure a place for them in our history. Its primary goal is to elevate the stories of individuals who are often underrepresented. She's also the founder of the first female-founded NFT marketplace and first photography-focused NFT marketplace. She was named top entrepreneur to follow by New York Finance. After completing her master's in international affairs from Columbia University and starting her career, she was inspired to start Scopio in 2016. She's also a published author, recently releasing a book called The Year Time Stopped: The Global Pandemic and Photos. Please join me in welcoming a great guest to the podcast, Christina Hawatmeh. Christina, thanks for joining us on the Marketing Umbrella.
Thank you. I can't wait to dive in and give people some good tips and help push things a little forward.
So we've actually had a great chat before we hit the record button, because we've got some shared history and shared geographic history. But I really want to give people a chance to get to know you a little better. So, you know, bios are always insufficient. So kind of round that out a little bit. What did we not mention about Christina you think would be helpful?
I am a very curious person. I love to learn and learn by doing. And I think that's a big part of why I was able to grow and build this company in the first place, because so many people have ideas and so many people think of, like, nothing is new. How many people would have thought, wow, there's so many photos out there. We should really save these pictures or be able to use other people's pictures. But the actual dedication of waking up every day, for me, it's been a decade now working on this mission, is what it takes. And I feel like I'm more in love with the space of photography and storytelling and images and art than I am with like Scopio as a concept. And
Sure.
That really has allowed me to experiment within this space and bring so much value to now more than 20,000 artists in 190 countries that have downloaded the app and added their images and bios. And then also 30,000 businesses that are using these images to do more authentic storytelling and even hire these artists on all their skill sets in the visual arts, which has actually exploded. We are in the most creative generation in history now, and people have skills in things you've never even heard of when it comes to the visual space. And those skills are now being like, how do I use them? And I really want to do this, but I don't even know how that even happens. And there is somebody around the world that knows how to do that. And bringing those together can create so much value, like for authentic storytelling, but also money for people in all over the world that have these incredible skills, but just cannot break through the barriers of getting seen.
It's interesting that, as you mentioned that, I'm thinking back of that book, you know, The World is Flat. I mean,
I have it.
I mean, it's such a global, you know, like you said today, this is the most creative, you know, space and time we've had in history. But let's go back to kind of pre-2016, maybe 2012, 13, 14, whatever. What was the actual gap in the market that you think you identified that Scopio is, or is it scope.io, or is it actually Scopio?
It's Scopio. It stands for Scope It Out. And we see ourselves as a fishing net for the world's content and people.
So what was the as far as the gap? I mean, there were other photo apps out there, you know, you had Flickr, you had, you know, whatever else existed at the time. So what did this kind of refine, or what was the itch it scratched that was really needed?
So I saw this post yesterday by Barbara Corcoran, and they're like, if you told a 20-year-old how they could become a millionaire or whatever, successful, what would you tell them? And she said, take money out of the equation and do something that you love and do that every day and become the best at it. And I didn't know I was doing that. But for me, I was like, I really care about all of these things and the events happening around the world. I want to be a part of it. And I felt like as a young girl, I was a part of this huge shift, which is photo sharing.
Mm-hmm.
And that was opening our consciousness to things we'd never seen before. We spoke earlier before we started recording. I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
My parents are from Jordan. I've had always this dual kind of identity, and I felt like they were so separated. Nobody from my St. Louis life would really understand my Jordanian culture and vice versa completely. So now with photo sharing, it was so cool. Like you could see any part of the world.
Mm.
And specifically for me, I went to GW in DC for college because I wanted to be the next Madeleine Albright. I thought I'm going to be Secretary of State and I'm going to help solve the world's problems. And that specifically happened because I was super traumatized from September 11th growing up in St. Louis.
Mm-hmm.
And ever, like, I think I wanted to do fashion before, and then I was like 14, 15, and that happened. And then my whole life changed completely. And I saw so much pain in my community and all these difficult things happening. And I was like, but it's just a misunderstanding. Like, people should know more about each other. So I went to GW on this mission and I was like, I'm going to go save the world. I worked in Congress. I worked at the Jordanian embassy. I did so much like NGO work. Like I won this award in high school, which was the most community hours served in my whole school, and I was just super motivated. I cared so much about learning and being curious and how does the world work and how do these systems work and what's the problem exactly? Like I don't get it. Um, so so I didn't feel like my undergrad education was giving me enough, and I was like, I'm gonna go do my master's at the best school in the world for international affairs. What does it happen to be? Columbia, the School of International and Public Affairs. So they waitlist me when I graduate, and I'm like, that sucks. But what they tell me is go live in another country for a year or 2 years, and then we'll accept you because you're so exceptional, but there's something, whatever. I thought it was unfair, but so I was like, you know what? They gave me a promise. I'm gonna make them keep that promise. And I was like, on my graduation day, I did double major in Middle East Studies, International Affairs, and my head of the Middle East program was ambassador of Kuwait, and there was the advice they gave us when we were all sitting down was everybody buy a one-way ticket out of the country. See you later. So
Wow.
nobody, so a lot of us did that, and nobody really knew what they were going to do. But so I wanted to go. I met this professor that was doing a film project with MIT at a Palestinian refugee camp. But that summer, there was a huge war in Gaza,
Mm.
and I got to Jordan and I couldn't go. So
Mm-hmm.
I was super bummed because I thought I was like, wow, film, that's really cool, like storytelling. And so I ended up at Columbia University in Jordan, working there, bringing professors and students and doing collaborations. And it was an incredible organization. I had such an incredible boss. And I was like, I'm going to work here. I'm going to learn how this works. And then I'm going to go into the school. So I like strategically was like not going to fail. And while I was there, I had already written in my undergrad a thesis about that social media was going to change the world because we're able to come together and
Right.
make
Right.
change. So I did that on Facebook groups. So this was before photos. And I thought Facebook groups are going to change the world because we can all be like, climate change, 10,000 people are there. Let's do XYZ. It's done. They meet. It's like so cool.
It's
So I
crowdsourced.
wrote
Yeah.
a, yeah, and it would happen like this. And it would be like, how do you know who cares about climate change in your
Mm-hmm.
city? And then you can all meet together. People kind of forget, but that was super revolutionary that that could happen. And then so I was really interested in that, and I kind of like I won another award when I was there about that research, and I went to Egypt, I presented it, and I got flown there, and I felt really cool. And then so when I got to Colombia, I was like, I'm gonna do something about social media because it's so powerful and impactful. Like, what can I do? And then and I had a few ideas that failed, but when I was there, I was so bored in my classes and I was like, I'm not going to work at the UN. They're not doing anything to help anyone. Like
Mm.
I got really upset because felt like I was so motivated and I just didn't want to be institutionalized. And so then I heard of these startup competitions and saw these engineers at Columbia working on these cool projects. And I was like, wow, tech is really the place to be. I mean, you can have so much impact by creating something in tech. Um, so so then I remember these vivid images at the time of the Arab Spring. This is one from Haiti, which is like really powerful, but there were ones at the time from the Arab Spring that were on Twitter. And I was like, I'm going to start saving these pictures. And then there were more countries, and I was like, I want to show people where they're coming from, but I didn't know how to do it. So I just went on a mission from that point onwards that I would save these pictures. And it went through so many different iterations. It looked so different, but I was lucky to have start winning these competitions and getting people that could give me advice on
Yeah.
what licensing was, how you sell images, what the rights are, like these things I had never thought about. And yeah, that's how and I was like, this is more worth it to try something big because that's what I wanted to do. I always want to do something big. Technology was big enough to do it. And then I didn't see that many women. So I was like, that's not cool. Like in the spirit of Christina, I was like, I'm strong enough to do this. Like I see other people aren't right now, but I can do it because why not? And it caused a lot of issues, but I ended up like sticking with it. And I don't know how I ended up doing that.
I'm a little curious now. Have you always had that kind of personality trait, even when you were younger? So, I can do this, and regardless of what the circumstances or obstacles are, I can do this. Have you always been that way, or did this kind of grow out of, your passion as you got a little older?
I have like certificates of winning speech competitions when I was like 8 years old, and I was very comfortable
Had a feeling that might be the case.
talking. Yes, but it's really good for kids. I went to an all-girls school also all my life. So I also had that, I think, competitive advantage that I could be the president of my class. I
Mhm.
never felt that I couldn't be a leader. And I think that's super important. And I understand why some of the greatest minds, like, I mean, like come out of these even universities of all
Mhm.
women because they're able to just focus and take these leadership positions and keep kind of refining that skill set. But as I mentioned, before I was much more carefree as a kid. And then when these tragic events
Mhm.
happened, I felt really serious and I felt compelled to move into that just social
Yeah.
justice space. But I think I could have been a leader in any industry. I had that ability,
Right.
but it's just like people say ambitious people don't know where to put their ambition. And that
Hmm.
was mine. So this has now taken me like a decade and that has dominated, or maybe even 20 years in total, but I don't know where that leadership quality will go after that.
It's really interesting. You said something, you kind of you were certainly passionate about and saw the artful side of what you were trying to do, but then you saw, well, actually there's an intersection with tech here. So, that confluence between these two, pretty major spheres or domains in society. And it was the perfect intersection as the birthplace of Scopio. So talk about the early days. Were there naysayers? Were there people when you shared your idea where they're going, photo sharing app? Isn't that like Google Drive? I mean, what are you talking about? I mean,
Instagram, I mean, you had Instagram just pop
absolutely
up.
with filters and whatever. But I think you had such a second and third degree vision that said, we need to connect them with the originator of the photo, the creator of the photo. We need to like categorize them by country. I mean, area and time and space and event. And so, I mean, you had this really complex, vision, I think, that you were trying to birth. Talk about that a little bit.
Talk about the challenges or talk about that journey.
Either one. I mean, the obstacles early, and then kind of move into like how it kind of formed.
I think at the time, just as the photo space was dominated by like companies like Getty Images that were picking
Hmm.
only the highest level talent, they didn't know, or maybe they didn't even care that there was this whole generation coming up that is now proficient and visual first. So when I would get photographer, like I would start to talk to people on social media and I would be like, there'd be this photographer, like a black photographer that's like, my images aren't high quality enough for Getty. Meanwhile, he's doing all these celebrity images and is super, has like 10,000, 20,000 followers. And I was like, how are you have 20,000 followers and you work with all these famous people, but your images are not accepted by Getty Images for a certain quality standard, which is how stock photography was
Mm-hmm.
labeled. So with all the analytics of social media, it changed the value of imagery. So if 10 million people like a certain picture, that makes that picture valuable, not
Yeah.
because it's meeting certain aesthetic qualities.
Right.
So I think I was really fascinated by that. And also, again, like frustrated, like, why is it so hard to sell? Or I didn't even see it as selling. I saw it more as distribution. Like, this picture should be here. This picture should be there. Why is it sitting on Instagram? It could be in this magazine. It could be
Mm-hmm.
in this news clip. It could be used by this person. So that was the main thing. And Columbia was really a great place to be at the time. A lot of people think of Ivy League institutions as like, oh, snobby or whatever. But if you're really hungry and you end up in one of those, the amount of people and skills that you can get there as a hungry person is incredible. So
Yeah.
I missed every
Opportunity.
part. I missed the parties. I didn't have as much fun as I really wanted to at the time, being 24 years old. But I was like, oh, there's the head of data science. There's the head of business. There's this person that sold their company for $100 million. I'm going to go talk to them. And then I would like sit with engineers that were like in freshmen in college and I was in grad school and I was like, what is coding? And I would do that on like weekends. And I felt like I safe to do that because I was like in the university setting. And it's true, like the second you're out of it, it's not as safe for you anymore. So I think I used it as much as I could. And I knew because I worked at Columbia how much resources there was
Mm-hmm.
within the
Yeah.
university
Yeah.
and that anybody needed to take my meeting. Like if you were a professor, tenured professor, and I'm emailing you, you kind of have to take my meeting. Like that's part of how it works.
Mm-hmm.
So I already knew that and I made sure to keep doing that at the expense of kind of everything else that the program had to offer me. And I just like everyone got to go travel to another country for their thing called their capstone. And I
Mm-hmm.
did. At the time, it was called Protestify, protest and testify. It was really dumb, but I did that, and I just sat in the library and worked on that and created this. Used paint to draw things, and it was what was hard about it is that it was so expensive to launch a website. So and I don't think I got the best. It was so hard to bootstrap at
Mm-hmm.
the time, which is why people weren't becoming successful and couldn't stay in the game. So when I graduated, launched a Kickstarter. I needed $32,000 to build a website, and I didn't realize that Kickstarter, like you have to meet the whole thing in
Yeah.
order to get the money.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Talk about literally, I think I lost 10 years of my life in that process because I was too young to know what that meant. And I, I thought, oh, I would go to Colombia. Like there's going to be tons of people that will give me money for this idea. And the truth is, Kickstarter and these programs really are based on your own network
Mm-hmm.
and your
Yep.
own personal friends and
And smaller
family
contributions.
and smaller contributions.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really hard, but I did it. I got through it. And then I built a website and the website didn't work. So there was like this frustration and anger. And then I just kept asking, kept meeting people, kept being like, how do I do it without money? How can I keep going forward? And there was always a door opened for me and I was always able to get through and then get to the next point and get to the next point until I could now you like just need a social media page and you can make millions of dollars and
Right.
have a business. And so,
A little different
yeah,
animal today. Yeah.
totally different. And people really should appreciate that and
And take
like
advantage of it.
take advantage.
You
Yeah.
know,
And super
I
take
mean,
advantage of it.
one thing that I is patently clear in just the short conversation we've had is that, a lot of people are faced or are presented with opportunities. but very few really kind of carpe diem and seize that day. And it looks like to me that you have a history of seizing opportunities. I mean, how many things have you mentioned just in this short period of time? The professors at Columbia, they have to take my call. I won awards. I got sent to Egypt. I asked people. I was kind of a closet info geek, that and I kept asking people, and I knew that I was in a safe environment to do that. And it is inspiring to hear you, to share those things. And I am, as we kind of shift a little bit, just to let's talk about Scopio in the marketing space as a whole. So you mentioned that it's really a two-sided marketplace. It's the kind of the artful side where you're presenting the product itself, but you're also presenting an opportunity for people to share their own skills and abilities and things they want to do. So talk about the artists a little bit on that side and how they can kind of step into the marketing space.
Yes. And I found the easiest way to explain that is also to step into who they are, what they care about, and the stories they want to tell
Sure.
and their work. Because I think marketing, even the word has completely changed
Mm-hmm.
now. And now people are talking about storytelling instead of marketing
Right.
and building or idea building or brand building. So even the fundamental word has changed with the birth again of this creative like renaissance that we're in. But the idea is like, what are you good at? Who are you and what are you good at? And then don't be afraid to be a part of something where you feel like there's other people like you that will help you get better in your skill sets. Like nobody can grow alone. It's basically impossible. So that's why apps and services are cool because you don't need to know anyone
Mm.
physically.
Yeah.
You could just be like, oh yeah, I'm a part of this marketing club or whatever community you want to be a part of. So with the artist, my goal was make something so easy that anybody, no matter what language they speak, could join. And because of that, from day one, I started off with 150 countries. Now I'm at 190.
Mm.
So I didn't,
That's
from the
almost all of
beginning,
them.
yeah, all of them. And from the beginning, like I have a heat map and it can see every like place and I have the whole world of people. And the idea was just a simple at the time when I started an invitation like we love your work, be a part of this global platform, and share what you want to share. So we're not saying like take photos of people doing specific things. We're saying whatever you're really good at, bring here. And
Mm.
there's been platforms like Adobe Behance that allows artists to put their portfolios on. So there's like the whole portfolio generation. There's places like Upwork and Fiverr where you can start making
Sure.
money.
Yeah.
But then there's the other side, which is like stock photography with Getty Images and Shutterstock. And I feel like why not combine these? And that's
Mm-hmm.
what I've done at Scopio because you can make money on the imagery you have because people are really always looking to kind of recycle and reuse there. But then who are you and who is that important for and who needs that? So we have bios, their image, their profile picture. Like who are they? On when you go to Upwork or Fiverr, you don't really know who you're dealing with. And
Right.
like if I get and so Scopio's mission is like, and that's what's hard from a product perspective is to make it like really easy for people to say, oh, this they really care about like who I am and my stuff. So there's things that really have helped me in the beginning. I built an AI curator that would like remove um like screenshots and bad content, not safe for work content.
Mm-hmm.
So we were able to highlight people's best work. And now obviously there's so much advances in AI, but there's ways to kind of help people like push them and be like, don't
Right.
do all the small stuff. You just focus on what you're good at. And then now my next challenge is having people meet each other. So building that community. And I learned something recently that communities are built off of one-to-one conversations. Like me and you are building a community right now, like let's say a marketing community. And it takes for you to be able to meet one-on-one, one-on-one, one-on-one to build a community. I always thought like, no, you can put 10,000 people in an app and you have a community. It's not true. People need to one-on-one connect with each other. So I think the hardest thing that I've seen, like I work with big companies like Disney, Microsoft, Meta. is that when we choose an artist and they're like in Colombia or Bolivia, or they have had a really rough childhood, they don't think they're ready to work with a big
Hmm.
guy like that.
Yep.
And so we're like mentally like, yes, you are, your work is good
Hmm.
enough. And that's a huge, like, you can't imagine how big that hurdle is for people
Oh,
to
yeah, I can't
participate.
imagine. I mean, what a great intermediary though that Scopio can play that role. You can say we are the connector. We can connect you to these opportunities that you may not be able to find on your own, so to speak.
Yeah.
I want to read a quote that I think captures the spirit of of you. You know, this was in a previous interview that you had done. It says, I wanted to do something great with my life, and organizing and saving the images of our lives for history while democratizing access to the world's images is big enough to dedicate my life to. What a great quote. And is that
Yeah.
sounds like that still is true today.
I want to show you. That's so funny that I said that because that was before this book came out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I did with 20. I like, because I said I wanted to do that. And I kind of felt like a failure in the Arab Spring, the Black Lives Matter movement, Wall Street. Like, I kept trying and trying, and my website crashed. And I was like, I'm really bad at this. And then finally, by 2020, I had Scopio's website that takes less than 3 minutes for people to upload their pictures. I wanted to add a story component so people could add their own stories instead of like captions or whatever. Tell us whatever they want to tell us. And so I started to get dozens and then hundreds and then thousands of images of 2020.
Mm.
And then I was reading the stories and I was like, these are tear jerkers, like major tear jerkers, and they're historic. So I
Mm-hmm.
knew this is history. I have this content. I'm going to do something with it. What? I don't know, but I know it's important because I've been spending all these years kind of failing at distributing this work beyond like having a website. Like last month we had 2 million like downloads on the images. Like people really use it.
Wow.
But I wanted something legacy related. Like I always think what's important in life.
Mm-hmm.
And this book for me is in every major retailer around the world. It's published by HarperCollins. It was featured in the Grammys given to Jill Biden, Beyonce, and Rihanna this year. It won the Mind Award for most intellectually stimulating topic of last year. And it's 200 images and stories from these people.
Mm.
So I felt like where you put your intention is where you get the results. If I said, I want to make $100 million and that's my thing, I would probably have $100 million right now. Maybe I do, but like that would be my intention. But the intention is the quote that you read. And then the outcome is stuff like this that is coming to me, is how I feel the universe is kind of working out.
Well, it is. I that book that just became the product of passion. You know, the passion project for you, and just kind of came together, especially during COVID, as we were talking about. But I want to get a little more granular right now and just say, you know, our audience is made up of, you know, many different listeners, but there's a primary audience of people that are either working in or leading marketing agencies. So what's the intersection between Scopio and, say, a marketing agency? What would be the best way for them to gain value?
It's all about micro targeting. The world is like super noisy right now.
Mhm.
What are you trying to tell, and who is going to help you tell that the best you have? Like I worked, who is your audience? And then the people that are creating that message need to be a part of that. Like environment, like for example, environmental reform. If you're doing a campaign on environmental reform, you should have artists, like whoever's doing the photos, whoever's creating the campaigns, whether it's the art, illustrations, graphics, videos, they should care about that topic too. So that's like where you get really good, where the best storytellers in the world are bringing people that are so passionate. And it could be like passionate about lip gloss. It could be literally just anything. It doesn't need
Mhm.
to be something really like great for the world. It could be like a neck pillow for the airplane. People really love certain things, and finding that person that could, whoever's working on that project, from the most mundane detail of like accounting all the way to the creative aspect, that's those are going to be the winners. And I
Yeah.
think also finding hacks, like for example, I was watching YouTube with my nephew, and there's been the same shows for kids on YouTube for so many years that are so not good for kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, there's all these big companies in the world that want bigger audiences. Hello, this is a free channel. You could put a free content out there, attract the audience of, for example, like you sell baby bath products that are organic. Well, why don't you create a show for free for parents, and then you can lead them in that direction.
Yep.
So you maybe they're like, oh, I'm a marketing agency. I'm not a producer. I can't do film, but you could actually become a filmmaker, and that could actually end up making you more
Mm.
marketing like advances. So you can't think about it as one linear organization. It's more of like, where is my audience, and where are these things that are not, they're like kind of gaps that
Mm-hmm.
nobody else is paying attention to, and then who are the right people that are really like going to help me create this vision, and those are going to be the most innovative, yeah, people in marketing.
I love that whole idea of, in the midst of a noisy marketplace, you got a micro target. The I mean, that's a bumper sticker right there. That's stick that on the back of your car
Yes.
for
And that's
sure.
like, again, I think the main point of that is connection,
Yeah.
is because we're as a human race, especially after COVID, are craving human
Mm-hmm.
connection. And
Yep.
that's what's missing. Like everything has become too much like I guess dehumanized.
Mm-hmm.
So like how can you get me emotionally? Or like how can I relate to you as a person? And so that's a really fun challenge for people because it's more natural, like you get to
Mm-hmm.
be yourself.
Yep.
And so people should, I think marketers should embrace, you can be yourself now. You can wear your pajamas to work
Mm-hmm.
on video. You can be who you are, and you don't have to hide that for this like professional marketing word. That's why I think the word marketing is like too professional.
Yeah. Yeah. I would agree. I would certainly agree. And I think that's kind of the rise of TikTok as well as this this uber personalization, opportunity, just short video clips and that has seen its expanded popularity. But I'd
But the
love
hard
to
the
go
hard
ahead.
part about TikTok, I want to definitely tell the audience this, is that TikTok, you need to be an expert at video creation in order to
Hmm.
really use the platform. But like a place like Instagram, and everyone's like Instagram's dying, but like my mom can use Instagram, like your child can use Instagram. TikTok, you really need to be good at it. So I don't know if we're gonna have to keep becoming specialized like that to
Hmm.
use platforms like
Yep.
TikTok, or we're gonna be able to use simplified products. And that's kind of scary for a lot of people right now, especially marketers that are like, I don't even have the skills for TikTok. How am I supposed to
Mm.
do this?
And what's coming tomorrow? What's the
Yeah.
next iteration? But I would love to shift right now to our kind of our rapid fire as we wrap up today. And this has been just a great conversation with you, Christina. But I'm going to just ask you a series of questions, just very short answers, very quick, rapid fire. And there's a reason you're going to think these are crazy, disparate questions, but there's a method to the madness here. But number one, did you get along with your parents growing up?
Yes.
Do you have siblings?
Yes. Three sisters.
And you currently have a pet?
No, but I really want a dog and I love horses.
So, what time do you wake up in the morning?
Six,
And what time do you go to bed?
10.
6, 10 to 6. Ideal vacation spot, money, no object.
Greece.
If you could
But I
change,
really want to go to Tokyo, like dying to go to Tokyo.
well, then enter a contest. It sounds like you've got a long history of winning contests and getting invited. So, last question. If you could change one thing about the marketing or storytelling climate today, what would you change?
Humanity, like a human-based approach, so that the online world reflects the real human world.
And I mean, that's a little bit of what you're trying to do through Scopio.
Yes.
So tell me the gap. Tell me what's missing.
What's missing is connecting the right. people with each other, because the world, just like you said, Tom Friedman, the world is flat. The world is flat now. We can work and meet anyone anywhere. So why not do that from a visual, a creative perspective? And for me, it's double important to really pay people around the world. So you're creating value all over the world, like distribute money, use your use your power to make the world better. And then community, artistic communities, like think about it, you're giving money to artists.
Right.
And so their community is going to benefit. So I think that double bottom line is super amazing. If you use your power that you have and make your communities better or another community.
So tell me what's your vision? What does Scopio look like in 5 years?
Oh, I really think sometimes about like Flickr and how everyone in the world had Flickr, and I kind of get sad like that it's not like that anymore. It would be my vision. Now we have 20,000 artists in 190 countries. My goal by next year is to have 100,000 artists, but I want it to be where anyone feels like they're a part of it, just like Instagram. And then have this powerful AI engine that's curating this content and distributing it
What a
and getting
great.
and making it rain. So making people hundreds of millions of dollars around the world.
And you know what? With a flat world and a flat market, we can certainly do that for sure. But Christina, I just want to thank you again for coming on the show and just sharing your insights and just really kind of, pulling back the curtain a little bit and letting people see, virtually into your entrepreneurial soul, and what really makes you tick. And it's just, once again, I mean, this is such an important, topic of discussion, and so helpful for those that are really trying to grow and scale their marketing agencies and to see what's new out there and what's available for them to work. So thank you again for coming on the show, and we'd love to stay up and keep up with your story as Scopio grows. Christina, have a great weekend.
Thank you. And you can find it by downloading the app called Scopio, iOS and Android, and on our website at www.scop.io.
Sounds great. We'll make sure that all that's in the show notes as well. Christina, thanks again. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to another great episode of the Marketing Umbrella Podcast, where we provide the information you need from successful leading marketers to build and grow your digital marketing agency. To learn more, go to umbrellaus.com.